Heavy metal has been played since the late 1960s in this country. Heavy metal is not just one sound, mind you, but several sounds, and it is now broadening its appeal beyond its traditional 12 to 21-year-old male fans. And Steve Craig found out today that one new form called speed metal is gaining strength right here in Greater Cleveland.
On stage, they're called Destructor. That name, their loud guitar and drum music, the aggressive lyrics, and all the posturing seem shocking, even threatening to the uninitiated. But it's all an act. Theater aimed at rebellious youth. Really, they're just four guys from Euclid.
I'm Dave Overkill.
Pat Rabbit.
Matt Flammable. Dave Holocaust.
Their 1985 locally produced album has sold a respectable 16,000 copies.
Now, you guys are all smiling now, but you're not smiling on the album cover. That's another way of looking happy.
It's an act, remember? And speaking of happy, in this business, that means getting a record deal with a major label, which Destructor now has. And so they've stepped up songwriting and practicing here above a factory in Euclid. Original material is important. Simply covering or copying heavy metal hits doesn't make it, especially with metal-wise Cleveland fans.
So the bands here in Cleveland have to play original metal. If you go into other cities, you see a lot of cover bands, or even original bands that play half cover, half original. Here it's just not accepted. You have to be original to make it.
The song is called Overdose, not on drugs, but on music. This kind is called speed metal after its fast beat, or thrash after the reaction of fans.
Now, typically, what do the people in the audience do when you're playing that fast?
Jump around, bang their heads,
jump
up
off
the stage,
jump off.
they body surf across the top of each other's arms and things.
Whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Some people just sit back and listen.
We don't advocate violence. We just,
I'd rather not do that now.
You can have a good time at a metal show without being violent as to hurting other people or damaging things.
Speed metal, like the heavy metal that spawned it, is supposed to replace violence, not encourage it. They say metal is a release.
After you're done, you feel tired.
I know I do. Steve Craig, Eyewitness News.
After you're done, you feel tired. Well, until they make it big in music someday, the four members of Destructor will keep their regular jobs in a restaurant, a gas station, installing glass, and working with insulation.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Level Up Cleveland. This week, we have the guys in here from Destructor.
Yeah!
Two of the originals. Two of the original guys. We got Matt Flammable here.
Yeah!
We got Dave Overkill over there.
What's up, Brian?
What's happening, guys? Thanks for coming down.
I'm in the hot seat.
This is cool, man. We got 4 decades of Cleveland metal here, sitting right here with us right now. 5. We'll get to that, but
right.
4 Destructor. Mm-hmm. And let me just say that we did have Purgatory in here last season, and we touched on probably a lot of the stuff from that time. But, you know, one thing that we were big about talking about was there was Breaker, there was you guys, there was Purgatory, and there was Shock Paris, and then there was kind of everybody else. There was a couple, there was Ratchet, but that was like, if there was a big 4, like in Cleveland at that moment, and the thing about that is if you were to compare like the big 4 to the Cleveland big 4 of that time, you guys would be Slayer. You guys were like unrelenting. You never changed. You guys never became something else. It was always Destructor. Every album sounds like Destructor. Every song sounds like Destructor. You guys never wrote a song that didn't have double time somewhere. I mean, like every song, no matter what it felt like the rhythm was, you guys always felt like a good beat would go perfect right here. Right? I mean, like, it was always driving speed, no compromise. Slayer was that same way. And all the other bands in Cleveland were a little more melodic. They were doing some different things. You guys were so straight thrash, like the definition.
We had the backstreet attitude, man.
Hell yeah, right?
Well,
seriously. And when Maximum Destruction came out, you know, you guys already had some demos out before that, and they were, you know, gaining. But when that album came out, man, dude, I mean, that put Cleveland metal on the map. That was one of the things that made Cleveland metal so popular was that fucking album.
We were
You're
young,
so
we were
kind,
raw.
thank you.
There's no question about it. And one of the things that we didn't have a lot of at the time was
I love you.
easy. You just met him.
Yeah.
One of the things that we
Yeah,
didn't have a
I'm
lot
kinda
of at
fast.
the time was experience. So we actually, I know, it'll be okay. Matt was only in the band for not even a year before we recorded Maximum Destruction. So a lot of stuff is fresh off the press. And it was the years that we're going to follow that we're going to, define our ability to are we going to change? Are we going to try to be
Longevity,
something
yeah.
different? Or are we just going to plow straight ahead as the freight train known as Destructor?
Yeah, and you guys kind of created this whole thing too. I mean, Destructor was more than just this band from Cleveland. You guys had created a whole image type thing where you guys were like later on you had bands like Mushroom Head who created characters and they created all these things and they went to the next level with the whole costumes and everything to that power. But you guys had your own version of stuff. You guys had the leather, you guys did all that, and then you guys gave yourselves those names where you created kind of characters.
Well, they had the leather. I had the lace.
Is that how it was? But you guys created these characters, right? And all the names that you created were like definitely had to do with the whole Destructor theme. So it was like forms of destruction was the names of you guys. Overkill, Flammable. And let me just go over some of just because I just find this fascinating. Now, some of the guys you've had quite a few guys in name, but these are some of the names that you've had in the band over all the years. You've had Overkill and Flammable, Hammer, Hellhound. We've had Warhead, Holocaust, Damage, Punisher, Exterminator, Chaos, and Ed Chaos is Ed Stevens, he was on the show also. Yeah. Actually, we grew up with Eddie. I know Eddie really well. And we had Pat Rabid. We've had Combustibles. We've had everything you can think of.
I don't remember who Exterminator is.
Exterminator is Eric Exterminator. He played with you guys from 99 to 2001.
Eric was.
Eric Reinecke.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was his name.
I didn't know that was his name either.
I love it.
Just like.
I love these names, but I would look in Purgatory. I was telling them, I was like, that was so cool that they did that. They were like the first ones that really kind of did the whole character thing and made you feel like you were going to see fucking Destructor. You know what I mean? And the whole thing that went with it. That album was killer.
Fuck yeah.
That first album is fucking killer. It's a classic. It's a classic album. I think it's a classic album in general. When you even see some of the feedback you see about that album worldwide.
Like this?
Hell yeah, dude. When you even see worldwide, I mean, you guys have been a lot of places also, you know.
Are we being filmed too?
Yeah, of course this is.
He's a little slow.
Yeah, dude, that goes the collection. This is a
Nothing.
does it smell like it don't smell like just don't smell like 1985.
I was doing that Misfit guy, the mountain guy.
Yeah, you're talking about from Rudolph.
Yeah.
It's too close to the I know what you were doing. See, I know. Nothing.
Nothing.
Or the gold, he's looking, smelling for gold.
Yeah.
I know what
Yukon Cornelius.
Yeah, Yukon Cornelius. Wow, dude, we have gone way off the
write a
rail.
song about him.
Bumbles Bounce.
All right. So
We
can do. I mean, I'll do Christmas shows with you guys. I don't care. I know a bunch of them motherfuckers.
I like to deck the halls.
So, anyways, you guys, let me be serious. So, you guys go back. You guys, I want to go back to this because this, to me, you guys, this was like.
Oh, the names. Yeah.
No, not the names, but I'm talking about Maximum Destruction because I'm gonna say what I think about. That was at a time that was '85. I think that came out in '85, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
85, Ride the Lightning, Hell Awaits, right? I mean, these are the things that are coming out at that time. The birth of what you guys were doing. And so this album is more than just a Cleveland album that was good. This is part of the whole slew of albums that came out around 85 that were really like a pinnacle of what was to come later. You guys were setting the blaze, no pun intended, setting the blaze, Mr. Flammable. But I mean, seriously, I mean, do you feel that way today? That you guys had
I guess we're fortunate enough that we're still able to get a piece of the pie. There's so many bands nowadays, and the fact that people still remember Destructor, it's considered to be a cult classic.
I think
we
it's more
accept
than
that. I mean, we're honored that people still remember that record
Well, the
and
thing
those
is,
songs
is
as
we
classic
like-
Destructor.
Yeah, but we all liked that music too. That the stuff that was coming out, we were like really into it.
Yeah.
And it was like we just wanted to be that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Not like
Well, who were you into then? I mean, what were you guys like?
Truthfully,
shit.
Matt can tell you drum wise, but from a guitar player and writing wise, we were into the stuff that came before us: the Ted Nugents, the Aerosmith, the Kiss, the Stars, the Gods, the Boys, all of that stuff, and we just naturally took it to that next level, like a lot of the other bands did. Metallica wasn't influenced by the band standing next to them.
No,
that came
they're-
out at the same time.
I actually
From the
took lessons from Carl Palmer.
So please, man.
Is that what happened? So,
Yeah, obviously, I didn't learn anything.
Her name was Rosie Palmer.
different Palmer.
Totally.
Yeah.
She was left-handed.
I had the Siamese twins.
What about you? What were you listening to back in '85? What was your all drummer music?
It was Iron Maiden, Motorhead, but it was even a bit further catalog. Back the Jimi Hendrix stuff. I mean, when MMS or what was that other radio station? WNCR used to be at night all the time. Like when I was late teens, early 20s. I mean, I was listening to the underground stuff at that time, which became, all the popular stuff that really hit it big, Black Sabbath and,
Yeah.
I mean, but I was, shit. When I go back to when I was a little kid, man, I was listening to the Righteous Brothers and what was those other guys? There was a couple like those duo bands,
Yeah.
the surf music, all that stuff. I was listening to all that shit.
Beach Boys were big, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. My brother and my sister were older than me, so they were like in tune with the music that was going on. At that time it was like the Doors, and my older sister had all her records, so I was like checking all those out, and my brother was listening to Led Zeppelin and stuff too, and I was like, oh, cool,
Yeah. So that's how it starts off. Usually, especially when you're like the young one in the family, you got older people that can turn you on to stuff. It's really nice to have that actually, because like someone like me who I never had older siblings, so it wasn't until later on where I was meeting people who was turning me on to this stuff.
Yeah,
And you got them in the family.
Well, I want to say that it wasn't all metal, and it wasn't all rock and roll and stuff. I mean, earlier than that, my mom listened to a lot of music. She liked Tony Bennett, and there's a lot of different types.
You've just
of
always
music.
been around all music.
Yeah, and it was she listen to it like all day long at home and stuff like that, and I was able to pick up on that too. There's shit that sing along with Mitch Miller stuff. That was but it's,
I think I still have that record.
regardless whether it had any influence on me, but it was the music.
Yeah,
It
right.
was
Just in general.
Yeah, just in general. That was it, and all my siblings got accordion lessons. They all got accordion lessons, and I didn't.
Were they playing polka?
And none of them do anything with their music though. They learned all that stuff, and they don't. I'm the only one that really wanted to go somewhere with the music, but I never got lessons. So, yeah, my brother, he plays a lot of polkas and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. It's
We're always looking for a good polka band to come on the show. We are.
Not.
German.
No, we
German,
do. We actually will. We actually have one booked. A polka band. We have Vizinata. They're going to be on.
Our very first bass player's dad was a polka king.
Really?
Yeah,
Paul Warhead. His dad
Warhead. I got him in here.
Yeah,
His
Warhead.
dad was Eddie Habit.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was pretty famous. He played with Frankie Yankovic, and he had hundreds of songs, and it was
Yeah, he did a lot.
a lot of recordings.
That gave Paul pretty much his musical background. It was in his DNA.
Do you guys remember recording Maximum Destruction? I
Oh, yeah.
Could you remember writing it and the whole process? Because that's like that,
Absolutely.
and especially because that was the beginning. That was like when things were it was a lot of firsts back then, right? So
Absolutely,
things really
yeah.
stuck. What was the process of that whole thing? Like, who brought the material in? How'd you guys go about doing
So
that?
that's a good question. Paul Warhead, that was our original bass player. He helped write a lot of that record. And we were high school buddies, and junior high school buddies.
Oh, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. I want to say this is really kick ass doing this. I think this is awesome. Okay.
Okay, we can go. So, for instance, the song Iron Curtain, that stemmed out of a jam that we used to do in the garage before we had any lyrics for it. That song was probably 3-4 years before Destructor being kicked around as a jam. And Paul Warhead came up with the bass line for it. Eventually, I wrote the lyrics for it. Pat wrote some lyrics for it.
Excuse me.
But that was like high school jam stuff. So a lot of the Pat, Rabid, myself, Paul Warhead, and a guy named Greg Canis, who was our drummer at the time in high school, we had a couple of various different bands and stuff. We actually played at Senior Talent Night, which was pretty funny. We played an Iron Maiden song, Ides of March. We played Tigers of Pantang, Silver and Gold. We played Destined to Die by the Boys. We had 3 guitars, drums, and no vocals, no bass. And, of course, we didn't get the Senior Talent Night gig and stuff. But
You're too loud!
That was a great time because, we were in high school. We're in the bathroom. We're putting on leather, putting on the studs.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. Like, we're going to kick this fucking school's ass. We're going to show them what's up,
And you're playing in front of all these people that you've been going to school with also.
Yeah,
so,
all of our schoolmates are like this. Yeah.
That was a scene in Back to the Future,
Was it really?
Yeah, they filmed you guys doing that.
Yeah, it kind of was the same
When
thing.
you were auditioning.
It's pretty similar.
But some of the songs were kicked around for a while, and then they started to develop. And we had this other drummer, Don. In 1983, we called ourselves Destructor. We were looking at the Exciter record. We were trying to think of a name. Paul saw the song Destructor from Violence and Force, and we're like, that's great. Let's use that. Don, the drummer with us, he helped play a couple of these songs. Bondage and Blackest Night were the first songs I ever wrote.
Really? Bondage was one of the first songs you wrote?
Yeah, that was pre-Destructor.
That's a fucking...
And and then we kicked Don out of the band because
Talk about the music now.
Don just wasn't fitting in, We met Matt through Ian Shipley from Breaker.
Yeah,
He was
that's
like,
a whole
I
story,
I got the guy for you guys, man. He's great. He's a little fucking crazy, but you're gonna love him and stuff. And so Matt comes down to the practice spot, and we have a demo. He's got the headphones on, and he's like,
This is cool.
we're like, oh my God, he's laughing at our music. What the fuck? This is the strangest reaction.
So far, just what I know of him, this is so bizarre. I can't believe he did that.
Right. And he's like, he takes off his headphone. He's like, I love this shit. This is great.
It was tickling
And
me,
puts the
man. That's why I
headphones
was
back on
laughing
and
at it.
starts laughing again.
I was like,
Great.
I was
You were like,
this-
you're in.
We're like, this guy's like the Joker from Batman.
Is that right?
That was a cool moment. I remember that really well.
So then what? So you guys go ahead. Now you made this through. Was this Auburn Records you did this with? Was this with Bill Peters?
After our first
Yeah, it was
show,
after our first show.
we had the opening slot for the Manimals. And before that,
Pinch poke, owe me a Coke.
okay, before that, Exciter was playing the Pop Shop. And Shock Paris got to open up. And we're friends with all these bands in town and stuff. But at the time, we're like the new kids. We didn't know Shock Paris. And we were like, what the fuck? Why is Shock Paris opening up for Exciter? We should be opening up for Exciter. We're that kind of music. Because there was a couple of times where there was mismatches of bands in Cleveland as openers for the bands that were touring and stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because of politics?
Well...
Oh, we don't discuss politics.
Oh,
Well,
no.
that kind of politics we can discuss. If we're talking about that kind.
Right. But so, and Matt used to work the door at the Pop Shop, and that's how we initially met Matt and stuff. So
That was hilarious.
the Cleveland metal scene all started to weave together. All of us guys knew Breaker, we knew Shock Paris, we knew Black Death, and then we became friends with Purgatory and stuff, and Purgatory ended up becoming our road buddies, and we'd always like hang out at their place. They'd hang out at our place, drink
Correct.
tequila.
Oh, they told us all a lot of good, a lot of fun stuff. You guys are hilarious, man. How you guys would just show up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and they would say it was, but when they would show up, that means we have to party, like no matter what. Yeah.
Who's there?
That's what they said, and there was a lot of good times back then.
But yeah, Paul Warhead ended up having some issues and stuff, personal problems and stuff. He left the band. We wanted Paul to be in the band and stuff, but our friend Dave Ionica, Dave Holocaust, was a friend of mine from high school. He was in commercial art in 11th and 12th grade. He was always hanging out. He was like in the wings, just waiting for the wheel to come off, and he was gonna fix it. And so he was practicing the bass. He didn't play bass for all that long, maybe a year and a half before.
Yeah, it wasn't very long at all.
He recorded Maximum Destruction with us. He was only in the band for 2 weeks, and we went in the studio to record Maximum Destruction.
Wow.
So things started to happen fairly
some
quickly.
Great chemistry, man.
But you mentioned Auburn, so I want to double back just to complete that. After our first show with the Manimals, Bill Peters approaches us and says, "Hey, would you guys be interested in recording? Making an album or an EP?" It was an EP at first.
Hell yeah!
And we're like, "Fuck yeah, that sounds great." It was that simple. There was no like, "Hey, we were
No
knocking on
formal
doors, we're
sit-downs.
fucking sending." Demos out to every
It was
company.
timing. He was there. He saw you. It just all kind of just happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ground and pound after that, man.
And that's basically how the Cleveland scene was happening at the time.
Nice.
Spontaneously, a lot of bands coming out, a lot of people supporting each other.
Cool, man. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. I want to come back. I want to get into that from that point on, where we start right there. To me, that's still one of the coolest times in the
And
Cleveland.
we were
scene.
like the jockstrap of Cleveland metal.
Well, that was but wasn't that just a cool time in Cleveland as far as metal
Fuck yeah,
scene
it
was,
was,
man? That was wild back then. All right, when we come back in a couple minutes, we'll be back here with the guys from Destructor.
Hello, Cleveland. I am ZM Delgado, author of the Rust Belt Rock Review at zackalantern.com, and this is your weekend concert calendar update. Up first, Friday the 13th at the Foundry, it's Slaughter Creek, with opening acts Bounty, Texas, Ignominious, Selena Plexia, and Ovenhead. Next on the agenda, Saturday the 14th at Musica in Akron, you can check out Blue Hour, The Darling Sons, Josie McGee, and Shame Chamber. And finally, Sunday the 15th at the Foundry, it's Mugshot with Inoculation, No Cure, Cell, and Captive. There you have it, Cleveland. You got a lot of shows lined up. I hope to see you at one of them. Until next time, rock on, Rust Belt.
And we are back with the guys from Destructor, Matt, Dave. So, guys, here's what I want to talk about. So, no, but seriously, here's what I want to talk about. We've been talking about Maximum Destruction and stuff, and I think, in my personal opinion, it's a classic album that needs to be identified as such. But, before you guys even put out an album, like you said, Bill had seen you, Peters had seen you guys playing out. You're still playing out. You're still doing things. You guys had put out some demos. You guys had already started getting some traction in the city locally.
Well, he knew about us before we did the show.
He did.
Yeah,
because you guys were already starting to make some noise, right? I mean,
there was some word going around.
Yeah.
We made friends with the guys in Breaker, and Ian, the bass player, Ian Shipley from Breaker, came to our practice spot, our rehearsal studio to watch us play a couple of times, and because he wanted to see where we were at and how good we were and stuff, and that's when he's like, "Oh, I got this fucking maniac named Matt."
Yeah, well, and it all came about because I used to play with Ian and Jim Hamer in a band called Holy Terror out in Bay Village. We used to practice
before Breaker.
Yeah, before Breaker, and when they stole Ian and Jim from us, Ian goes, oh, "Don't worry, Matt." He goes, "I got somebody I could hook you up with and stuff." And I was like, "Okay," so it took a little time, but it finally worked out.
Yeah. So then you guys have your first gig with the Manimals you were just saying about, and that's actually recorded, right? You actually can how many people's first gigs are actually you're able to actually go back and listen to it? But you guys, you have a copy of this, right? I mean, this is out,
it came out like afterwards. It wasn't like
right then
when we did it. Yeah,
it was a cassette from the soundboard. We took it back and we started to do our Smash Your Skulls demo, which everybody was like, how many versions of that? Well, it just kept evolving. It started off with like 3 practice songs. Then we did the live show. And so it was 3 practice songs and 2 songs from the live show. And then, so it was never like an official thing. It was like we just keep adding some songs out and then we keep tape trading and stuff.
And different versions and
different,
whatnot. Yeah.
So it wasn't like one set of work. It was a work, something that you guys created that could change because you would add to it,
Absolutely.
add to it instead of doing something different each time. This just became one work. You just kept adding to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Big pile of shit.
That's a pile of clay. Come on.
Okay, pile of clay.
So you guys, did you
clay.
at what point do you have all the songs written for Maximum Destruction? So I mean, like, was that well before, or were you still writing going into the recording?
The last song, Maximum Destruction, I think, or that song was the last song written, and that probably was a couple of months before we went in.
And did you guys have
we were still honing it a little bit. I never sang it and played it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, until we got in the studio.
So that was the only one that wasn't kind of like complete. Would that be fair to say? And then
Yes.
everything else you guys had already pretty much had polished up and everything. It was ready to go.
Yeah, Overdose was on the Smash Your Skulls demo. That was one of the first ones. The song Destructor was one of the first ones.
Yeah, and we'll get to that too because that song showed up in a movie later on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Metal Maniac or something like that. But the one thing that's cool about that album is the beginning of it, right? That whole beginning with the screaming and the smashing, and it's like you feel Destructor. So was that planned? Was that something that you guys thought it through?
Yeah, we wanted to smash a bunch of stuff. We wanted to destroy some shit, and so we got this idea. Let's get as many television sets as possible.
That's what it is. They're televisions.
Yeah, and Bill Peters ended up getting some TVs. I ended up getting a big console and stuff. So that big whoosh, that's the console TV tube fucking smashing.
Oh.
And we had a couple sledgehammers. We just started going crazy smashing these things. And then obviously we just dubbed a bunch of shit over the top of it. You know?
Yeah, right. They have rooms now like this, right? Like today you can
have rooms like that.
You could go pay some money and just go in there. You guys were ahead of your time, man.
I think Dave got injured when we were doing that.
I cut myself on the glass of the
did you
tubes,
guys?
yeah.
A little too crazy?
It wasn't too bad, but
man,
there was
safety.
blood.
Yeah, right. Now they'd make you wear a helmet and have you'd be padded.
Yeah.
Sign a release like you guys.
Yeah.
OSHA would have to be there. You
We
know?
got to do it, man. You never know, man. It's very dangerous being in here. We got to have a
Well, you
release.
yelled out. That's part of the intro when you went.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah, there's a
Something
yell.
like that, you cut
Oh,
yourself.
is that when you cut yourself?
Yeah.
No, that's sweet, man. But that's again, that's one of them things where, like, and I know you're saying you got, but Slayer and you guys do have certain parallels that remind me of each other. That intro, Slayer became. That's what they did. And you guys, it's not like you were copying from Slayer because they were just starting off themselves.
Right.
So it's almost like you guys were kind of like paralleling. It's almost like you were all in the same. There are definitely things about both bands that remind me of each other.
We definitely knew who Slayer was, and Metallica, and Anthrax, obviously. Seen Anthrax at their first show when they still had Neil Turbin and stuff. Talked to Scotty and Charlie Benante.
Oh, yeah.
Nice guys at the time,
Cool.
But we weren't directly influenced by that. We couldn't have been because we were standing next to each other,
Yeah, right.
If it came out 5 years before us, it'd be a different story. So
That's what I'm saying.
Iron Maiden and Motorhead,
that's what you said.
definitely a different story. I was always been big Maiden fan, big Motorhead fan. Lemmy's was God to me back then and is God to me now still.
So kind of that the new wave of British heavy metal, but kind of the first wave
yeah.
also, like both, like that whole British heavy metal thing.
Yeah.
That and Motorhead was huge in that. Now you guys said you opened up for a lot of bands also, Beckley. That's what you were doing, like because back then that's really what it was. We don't really see that as much today. I think a little bit more we're starting to, but when these big bands come into town, a lot of them bring their own acts
They
with
got
them.
touring packages.
Yes, and back then what it was, these bands toured by themselves, and then they would take on a local band to join them. In each city would be a different band. bringing these guys up and stuff like that. That's what you guys were a lot of times doing back then.
We are fortunate to be able to do that.
Heck
Definitely.
yeah. And you get to meet a lot of people. What are some of the coolest things? Like, what are some of the cooler bands that you guys got to open up for? Some memories you guys have of some of that stuff.
Nasty Savage was fucking
See,
awesome.
Nasty Ronnie, when you told me about the TVs, I'm thinking, that's a Nasty Ronnie Savage. That's Nasty Savage. Remember, he used to bust
Busted
all
on
this
his
shit.
bust a tube
but-
over his head.
We knew who Nasty Savage was from the Wage of Mayhem demo and then the first record and stuff, but we had never met them till they first came to town. And we were just like around the same age and like-minded and stuff, so we became buddies at the time, you know.
Yeah, I could see you guys like the perfect opening band for Nasty Savage.
That was cool.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That was at the old Brooklyn. Wasn't
at the old Brooklyn. I think
Oh, remember when they were doing the shows? When
we
Megadeth played
two
there?
shows with them. Megadeth, we played 2 shows with the same fucking day.
Yeah.
You played with Megadeth?
Yeah, that was at the old
original
Brooklyn.
Megadeth,
Right at the
too.
beginning, yeah.
That was on their first album tour. Dave Mustaine actually was busted for illicit activity and was forced to leave.
Really?
He was told to get the fuck out of the city after the show and stuff. He was.
Wasn't it Ellison that got in trouble?
Well,
That
recently.
was it.
I'm sorry.
Same type of thing, though, I guess, huh? Well, no, but
Dave Mustaine was not very friendly at the time.
yeah,
Dave
yeah.
Ellefson was fucking awesome.
yeah.
We played with Slayer
Yeah,
a
Dave
couple
was
of
kinda
times. Dave
withdrawn and
Lombardo.
stuff.
Dave Lombardo was awesome. I think our second show was
Yeah,
with
that
Slayer
Was that Flashes?
at Cheaters. It was
Cheaters.
called at the time.
No kidding.
And
we
we
opened
had
up
this
for their
mop
first show
mop
here.
bucket room and stuff where we could get ready, and we were still wearing makeup at the time. Our first 2 shows, we were doing the leather thing, but big black shit. Matt had blood red hair and stuff, and Matt used to
Mammy!
he used to put these blood capsules under his wrists and wrap them up and stuff, and then he would smash them and stuff like he was like
Bleeding like you cut your wrists?
Yeah,
Like you slit
yeah.
your wrists?
Commit suicide.
Some people would think he was a little unstable, like he needed that.
Like I needed to do that. Right?
So you guys, wait a minute. Let me get, did I hear you right? You said you played with Slayer?
Yeah.
At
Cheaters, it was called.
where was that
The
at?
Cam's Corner
That
area.
became Flashes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys played with Slayer there?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I didn't.
That was their first show here in Cleveland.
Wow.
So we came
What
out of the
a
mop
fucking
bucket room, which
show.
was fantastic fucking dressing room, green room. And Dave Lombardo was standing there and stuff, and he was like, hey, do a great show, guys. He was like,
Yeah,
rah, rah,
he
rah.
was a
Really,
cool
really
guy.
fucking sincere, honest guy. And then I remember seeing those guys play, and I'm like, holy shit, that dude is an awesome drummer, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking tight as
Tight
hell,
as
man.
hell.
Yeah, Slayer was like, that's why they
Absolutely.
were one of the best, and that's the end of that, right? I mean, there's no other Slayers.
Right.
So anyone else? I mean, like is a Slayer. What
We
about
opened up for Anthrax and Celtic Frost.
what about like Hawkwind?
Celtic Frost.
Awkward.
We played with Hawkwind
That
years
was
later.
a separate band. That was
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
offshoot.
different band.
That was Space Corps.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me it was
Yeah,
Space Corps.
but
My bad. We'll talk about that a little bit because that's cool that you guys play with them. You played with Hawkwind though after Lemmy was gone.
Yeah, it was
Way after that.
Yeah, right. So Motorhead had already been formed and all that.
Yeah,
back
unfortunately,
1990.
I wish I met him back
But it's
then.
still cool.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely bigger than a lot. But you guys were big in the Cleveland scene as far as the thrash thing goes. You guys opened for a lot of bands. I remember Destructor was on a lot of bills, man, back then. Anything crazy going on back then? Like, this was a different time than it is now. I mean, like, do you guys remember?
I think it was all crazy.
I mean, like crazy stuff. You're like, here's what I'm saying. Like, back then,
crazy
yeah, but I mean, like if you get your cousin that comes up, you haven't seen him in a while. He's like, oh yeah, I remember. He's like, what's the first story that comes to your mind usually when you're ready to tell somebody
So
about this?
here's a good
How do
fucking...
you celebrate Halloween in West Virginia?
Oh, get out of here.
Pumpkin. That's a good.
You said that's what happens when I meet my cousin.
That's what you think of.
The second... I know. And we're spiraling down the drain now. The second time...
No offense to my relatives.
The second time we played with Megadeth.
Oh, was that the afternoon?
No, this was a different venue, and it's escaping me right now. But it might have been the old Brooklyn. But
Go ahead.
there was right next to the stage. There was this like you drop down, and there was like this little dressing room and stuff. And they gave that room to us. This bigger area, which was by the beer coolers behind this wooden
That was
panels
the old
and
Brooklyn.
stuff.
That was the old Brooklyn, yeah.
Was where they put Megadeth, and Dave Mustaine didn't like it and stuff. He was like, I don't want to be there and shit. So they made us move. They made us switch and stuff. Well, we had the fucking smoke machine and stuff for our show, and the fucking thing was cranking, and he came out of the backstage area like, oh, what the fuck? We smoked him out while we were playing and shit, you know.
Did you guys not really like Dave Mustaine? Would that be fair to say? Like after all is said and done,
Like
we
they
were
like
always
flushing out the cockroaches.
right.
Sorry.
We wouldn't have known any of
just a
these
joke.
guys from Adam until we finally met them, and we were always trying to be friendly, but sometimes your hopes are dashed by people that are less eager to meet you than you are, you are to meet them.
Yeah, you think there would be. I remember when I met Metallica. You know, you have all these expectations, and Hetfield was kind of a dick. But I remember telling the guys I was with, I was like, I think that was what I expected.
No, he was one of the members.
Who, James?
Yeah.
He was instead of a dick. But I mean, I expected him to be kind of an asshole, and it was like, yeah, I kind of expected that, you know, from
Attitude,
him.
man.
I partied with
Attitude.
Metallica at Barney Google's hotel when they were on the Ozzy tour. That was at the Coliseum.
No shit.
Kirk,
balls of fire.
Kirk
Goodness
and
gracious.
James came to our table and stuff and hung out with us, and they were like super cool. But you got to catch people at the right time, obviously.
Correct.
You know? Iron Maiden was really cool. We had Bruce Dickinson in our hotel room, you know?
Really?
Yeah, in that hotel.
That was,
Wait. What's that like? What's it like having Bruce Dickinson in your hotel
He
room?
was super fucking cool. We met him in
Really?
the hallway. He signed our guitars, and then the security was like,
that
you
was
guys got to
before
go.
I was in the band, though, wasn't it?
This was before Destructor.
Yeah, it was prior to Destructor.
I was on the Number of the Beast tour, and I worked at a hotel, and I used my employee
I was
discount to
gonna
get
ask.
a room, and Iron Maiden were there.
So you already heard ahead of time Maiden was going to be there, so you get this room so that you can meet Iron Maiden.
Yes, exactly.
Fuck.
So Steve Harris comes to the room with Jim Haymar from Breaker, because Bruce calls him on the phone. He's like, these guys got a bathtub full of fucking beer. You got to come over here, you know? And so Steve joins, and we're like listening to Tigers of Panting and more, and we were like smoking a joint and drinking beers, and then the fucking front desk calls, you know? And they're like, it was a little bit later, and we're sitting there talking so we could hear each other and stuff, and the music wasn't that loud. It was a little boombox. It wasn't anything crazy, you know? And they're like, the guests are complaining, you guys are making too much noise. And Bruce goes, give me the phone. This is Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. I've got 40 fucking people in this hotel, and we'll make as much fucking noise as we want to. And slams the phone down. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going to lose my job, man. This room's on my hotel discount, you know? He's like, follow me. And we go running down to his room and stuff. We're like sitting in his room for a little bit. And he's like, all right, guys, I'm going to have to tell you, it's time to leave. You know, it was nice meeting you.
I'll tell you right now, one of the most amazing things about that story is how much you can sound like Bruce fucking Dickinson, dude. Holy shit, dude. I'm like, dude, that sounds like him.
A lot of people have said that Bruce is a fucking dick, but he was super cool to us.
Really?
Hence the name Dickinson.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's a fucking
Adrian
story.
Smith was real nice and stuff.
So
I
you met them
remember-
all?
Yeah. And Clyde
All the
Burr was in the
members.
band at the time, but I think Adrian Smith was tripping on mushrooms or something because he was doing like this with his face and stuff. He was acting a little bit more
Really, man? How cool is that? So you guys, now after that all happens, would you say that was one of the more like highlights of this whole entire thing back at that
fuck
time?
yeah, we went back to school. We're like, we're gods. We met Iron Maiden. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
We're the coolest dudes in the city.
Yeah, and then you guys, but okay, so what happens after that though is there's some things that go on. There's a lot of like I said, there's always a lot of turnover in this band. There's you, and there's a whole bunch of people that have been in and out after you. You've been in and out a few times.
Yeah.
And you're back again.
Yep.
What
I like that.
Well, how does that happen? I mean,
In and out.
He likes the old
In and out, the old in and out.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything's that way with me. So, but what happens? Like, how do you, like some bands are just the same four guys are always together. But what happens with Destructor? How do you think this thing starts to become what it actually became?
Obviously,
Besides actual members that were joined the band and played with us, and a lot of the people we had a lot of people that would come down to the practice spot, and a lot of those people were flowering musicians or whatever you want to say. You know, they were younger kids,
Blossoming musicians.
So they, they went on to be, influenced by whatever we were doing at the time. I mean, that happened too. Besides the members that actually join the band.
Oh yeah, you guys influenced a lot of Cleveland. A lot. I don't know. You know, you some Sunless Guy, Ed Miller.
Yeah.
Ed.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Me and Ed were talking about before I had them on Sunless Sky on. I went over Ed's and I was just bullshitting with him the night before, and he was like, "Dude, I got to play with Destructor one time." He's like, I was like a little kid, dude. It was like, and Ed's a great guitar player. I mean, he's like, you know, he's doing, you know, he's in Germany and but when he's talking about you guys, dude, he's like a little.
We had the
kid,
privilege
man.
of having him try out with us. He auditioned with us for a
Yeah.
couple times. Yeah, he sent me a letter, real nice letter about that.
Yeah, he
text, not letter. It was.
Yeah, it was a big deal for him. You know what I mean? But that's cool, man. You know
super
what I mean?
nice guy, super talented.
Yeah,
And
very.
we're fortunate enough to have been able to play with some of the best musicians in town. Ed Stevens played with us.
Yeah.
For a short period of time. Sean Vanek has done 3 shows with
Midnight,
Destructor
yeah.
when Nick was in the band and couldn't do it. And this fucking guy, he's so talented. I love him. He shows up on a Tuesday. He's got like 3 songs done. And the show is in Toronto or was in Chicago on a Saturday. So he jams through the songs. We're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good and stuff. He's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna work on them some more and stuff. We meet him in Chicago. He fucking kills the set. He plays all the solos like Pat Rabbit was playing and stuff, and nails it. You know?
Yeah, but he is like a special talent, right? I mean, like,
Yeah, he's
like
exceptional.
he's today's.
He's exceptional.
Yeah, he's like he's really representing Cleveland right now in a big way. He was just on the Merciful Fate tour with Midnight, and that's awesome too. I mean, it's another one.
And some people may not know this in the greater scheme of things, but Jamie Athenar from Midnight, he was in the band for 12 years and helped write a lot of the songs that a lot of people know. Tear Down the Heavens, Sonic Bullet, World of War.
Really?
Yeah. So
involved.
So it's just like, so would you say that, you know, like we talk about it a lot in here where there's these factions of musicians that kind of like, you know, like you have, but you have these factions. So you'll have like 12 musicians over here and you'll have like 3 bands from there. And then they'll also interchange. And then like this guy will join with these guys. And then this side project sometimes.
and they're all still very different.
Yeah. And because they all want to do different types of music. This
It's
band.
like John Mayhall and the Blues Busters or whatever. Ball Busters.
Yeah, though.
I never heard of that band.
Nah, not that one. I don't know where they're playing.
The back room.
Well, what I understand, there was a lot of prominent musicians that went through that band too. That's all.
Prominent.
Prominent.
But I mean, is that what it was?
And boners.
And when you guys, and another thing I want to know is like Destructor. You guys, especially you, Dave, because you're the mainstay of the band. Yeah. But were you also involved in a lot of side projects and stuff? Or was Destructor such a just your thing that's?
I think Destructor was my thing. It wasn't until after Dave Ionica was murdered and Matt took a leave of absence, and then we tried to carry on. But like around the time of 1990, even if we wanted to keep on doing shit, things changed so fast in America. Heavy metal was all but dead, right? You know, you had Pantera, and then you had the grunge scene and stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot.
Now
still
Pantera
happening.
saved all that. I mean, if it wasn't for them, there would be none, really. You know,
in Europe, that was a different story, but we decided at the time, and this kind of stemmed because Matt turned me on to a lot of music. Matt's 8 years older than me. Turned me on.
You had to say that.
I did, but you look fucking great for being 8 years older than me.
You're so sweet.
I'm only 30. He turned me on to Captain Beyond. He turned me on to Hawkwind. He turned me on to like Lucifer's Friend. There was a bunch of stuff that people a little bit older than you turn you on to and stuff, and you're like, wow, this is great. So
I'm glad I turned you on.
Yeah, we became huge Hawkwind fans, and we always were, even at the height of the 80s Destructor. And I remember Bill Peters calling me up once, and he goes, Hawkwind's coming to town, and they're looking for an opening band. Would Destructor be interested? And I was like, I would love to fucking open up for Hawkwind, but not Destructor. That makes no sense. I'm going to put together a space rock band. And so we came up with Space Core. Matt was the original drummer. Pat Rabbit was the bass player. Paul Resnick, who came from Screw Tractor. I don't know if you guys knew who Screw Tractor was. he was a high school friend as well. All graduated in '82.
He was keyboard player.
And so we threw together this 35-minute set of space songs, and we opened up for Hawkwind, and that's how we got the gig.
No kidding. So
Yeah.
you guys just changed it for that one gig. Did you play any other gigs besides that with
Space
still kept going
Corps
on, yeah.
continued on and stuff because
Did you pick and choose like that? Did you use each band? So like Destructor would do this one, and then Space Corps would do that. If you
once we got into the 90s, it was tough. Matt took a leave of absence, and we ended up with 2 different members in Destructor. And by 92, the last Destructor show, was it 92?
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was with Overkill at the Empire. That used to be across from Jacobs Field or
I
whatever.
remember, yeah.
And after that, the band just kind of imploded, and Pat and I said, let's just call it quits, and we'll just keep on doing Space Corps.
So that's took over for a while.
Yeah. And it wasn't until 99, Frank Stover from Snake Pit magazine contacted me. He's in Germany, and says, hey, what's going on with Destructor, man?
Give ML some credit for being in.
ML
Yeah.
was in Space Corps too. So yeah, and the Eric Reinecke, who also was in Destructor, Eric Exterminator. He was in Space Corps. So this big orgy, you know?
Yeah, right.
But musicians that are able to play more than one style of music, it's kind of the soup we are always swimming in, you know.
Right. Well, like, and that makes it tough.
And eating at the same time.
And the other thing I could see making it tough though was Destructor was such a defined band. I mean, you guys did this thing, and it was like, this is what you did. I mean, you weren't very interested in being a super diverse metal band. You guys had a fucking style, and you guys
No, there was no tampering.
Killed
with
it.
It had to be like this.
Yeah.
Or wasn't going to be at all.
and it wasn't the only music you liked. So therefore, if you wanted to play outside of that, you had to create another band. Really, I mean, that was the only way to do it. Really,
Right.
and like you said, at this time in the '90s, the whole landscape of music is changing. Grunge is becoming this thing. Guitar is on its way out, and you guys are a guitar band. I mean,
It's kind of interesting though what you're saying about that, because it was actually what we liked to play. I mean, the style that we played was something that, I mean, it was just it was us.
Yeah,
it was the way we wanted to.
you weren't trying to be like anything. It just
Right.
this is
Kind of
what was
all we
coming
knew.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It was. It always was like, well, it's going to be whatever it turns out to be.
Yeah.
You know, when we play, this is what it's going to be. So.
Well, and you know,
There
another
wasn't
thing,
any plan like that. I mean, but the separate bands, yes, you know. But we didn't. I don't think we really changed too much from Destructor. I mean, I don't think I did.
to Space Corps?
Well, yeah, I guess there was a little difference, but I mean, didn't feel like
you just felt like it was
I
effortless
didn't
both
feel,
ways.
Yeah, I didn't
you weren't
feel
trying.
like it was change. Yeah, I just
Thank you.
It was an extension of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So let me ask you this, because
Thanks for opening that door, Hunter.
yeah, we could go on and on and on. Every one of these
Here
could
we
be
go. We're going left at the
yeah,
red light.
extension of yourself. Here we go. I can only think of
I got-
100 things you
I
could.
got the pump in my left testicle.
You got the pump in your testicle.
It's the left testicle
Oh, yeah,
now.
that's good.
They replaced it with the pump. You know.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So another thing I wanted to ask you about was your vocal style, because honestly, there wasn't a lot. You at that time, that was when that kind of vocal style was being born. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people going out there with that kind of power in their voice, and not trying to make every note a singing note. You were bringing up all that growl and that, but then you could sing the notes when you would also add the notes to these things, and it was like so well done.
Honestly, it was kind of by accident, because there was a period of time where we didn't even have a vocal PA at the rehearsal studio.
Oh,
So I would just like be playing the words in my head and stuff, and I'd get on stage, and now I'm fucking singing them, but I never sang them before.
and it's a lot different when they're actually doing it. Yeah, right.
So there was a lot of me discovering what I was doing, what I was able to do, and it wasn't until like 10, 15 years later I felt like I actually had control of my voice.
There was a certain amount of comfort.
Yeah.
But you're also playing guitar while you're singing too. So like that's a whole
Sometimes
different.
it's a
Rough
bit
job,
challenging.
man.
Yeah, like especially if you're not used to singing along while you're playing guitar, you're doing it in your head. When you started doing it, was it right away like, whoa, like?
Obviously, it was way harder at first than it is now. Now it's second nature.
Oh yeah, right. It is. All right, we're gonna take another break real quick.
We'll break for a commercial.
Yeah, we're gonna take another one. When we come back,
Time to take a look at the monkey.
when we come back, it actually is. I have to go to the bathroom. When we come back, I want to talk about some of the other
Are we
LPs
all
that came
gonna
out
be
later
able
on.
to look at the monkey, or is it just
No.
It's a private
you don't,
session.
dude, you don't have enough. You got glasses that have to be this thick.
We need more Calgon.
Yeah, you have no
Ancient
idea.
Chinese
Your head will hurt trying to get that thing in focus. But no, when we come back, though, I want to talk about some of the stuff that came on later on, too. I mean, you guys have a ton of music that we haven't even touched yet. So we're going to get on some of that stuff, too, when we come back.
Can't
touch
touch
on
this.
I knew it. I got to watch everything I say. All right, we'll come back in a couple minutes.
All right.
Hi, this is DJ Terry from the Homegrown Hit Show on 216 The Beat. I hope everybody had a happy and rockin' New Year's Eve. Hey, if you're looking for some laughs this week, check out Michael Copenhaver at Knacker Jack's on Monday, January 9th, starting at 6 p.m. That's all I have for this week, so have a great week, keep supporting local music, and keep rocking with me on the Homegrown Hit Show. DJ Terry, out.
Holy shit, we're back.
Boom. Back again. With
So
the guys
Brian.
from Destructor. We got Dave here. We got Matt here. What's that?
I'm Dave.
I'm Matt. I'm going to act like a fucking idiot. And you reprimand me.
Shame on you. Shut up.
We got gifts? Are there gifts here?
Yeah,
oh, I love gifts.
because it's the
man. This
holidays,
is my
and I
favorite part
want
of
you
the
to.
show.
I want you to have a little bit of swag. So
I got
Matt,
something for you, too.
hold it up.
Here, let me put it up for
Use your hanger.
Oh, boy. Oh, that's a sweet shirt, dude. Oh, wow, dude. That is sweet.
So that's artwork that some guy named Sake from the Philippines did for us, and that was from the Keepers of the Flame show exclusive shirt in Mexico. I wanted you to have that for Christmas.
Thank you, dude. That is a killer shirt. Hell yes, man. Here, get that one up there. I know he showed it, but I want to show it again. That's sweet, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll be wearing that on a future show.
All right, cool.
Someone's going to have to look at it.
Force them.
So what I want to talk about now is a little bit like we've hammered the Maximum Destruction album, which I just think that's just a classic, so we had to. But you put out a lot of music after that, as Destructor did, and obviously you weren't a part of all of this, so you just can keep out of it. No, I'm just kidding, and I know you won't anyway. So
I'll interject something.
I'm kidding.
Some kind of crap in there.
No, seriously though, there's a lot that happened since then. One thing I will say though, anybody wants to go out and check out Destructor, they do, like you always sound like Destructor. It always sounds like Destructor. I don't care what album you're going to pull up. I don't care what it is. There's always that extremely freaking awesome riff music with the awesome drums. Everything's going 100 miles an hour. There's never all of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. As a friend and a fellow musician, Matt and I have known each other since 1984.
Right.
And we've been through a lot together. And this is not a brag. This is me complimenting Matt. You know, we play in this band, Space Corps.
Vulgar Devils.
Vulgar Devils. That a project I started, and Matt's the drummer on, and Matt and I just finished with Hellhound and Hammer the new Destructor record, Blood, Bone, and Fire. And Matt's playing is the best that it's ever been. It's amazing for somebody that is his age.
What age would that be, Matt?
Let's not dwell on this.
I'm on Medicare. Let's put it that way.
Well, really though, the new album's got some killer drums, huh?
Matt is on fire, literally.
Sweet.
And figuratively.
So is the new album now being made, or is it out, or where are you
So
at?
it's
I'll
in
give you a
the
blowjob later.
Wow,
it's in the smooth.
Hell of a good drummer.
It's in the smooth, capable hands.
That's why he says that kind of stuff.
of Tim at Shadow Kingdom Records.
Okay.
So
right now it's being mixed right now, and
no, it's mixed and mastered, and it's gone into the art phase and all that. But unfortunately, because raw materials and everybody's got to get in line at the fucking deli counter of releases,
Man,
it's
I'm
probably
hungry.
not going to come out for 9 months.
Really?
Yeah,
9
that's how
more
long it takes.
months?
I was talking with Don from Nunslaughter, and their blood is or red is the color of Ripping Death.
Ripping Death, yeah.
It's taken 15 months for the vinyl to come out.
Wow.
The cassette came out and the CD came out and stuff, and it's taken that long for it to go to the pressing plant to come out. I just got my copy yesterday. It came yesterday, right, Hunter?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but see, like in the world of today, though, you can release it as a stream, right? I mean, like without having to worry about all that stuff. Is that what you're not trying to do, though? You're trying to release it all as one.
It's going to be up to the record company because it should be one package. Because if you leak a little bit here, a little bit there, by the time the vinyl comes out, it's like that's old news.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's almost like time for a new album already at that point.
And fortunately,
on that too.
Yeah, Hellhound Mark is a great writing addition to Destructor. He plays guitar on the last record. All the solos that he does are fantastic, and
100%.
we're already starting the writing process. So I imagine by the time that record comes out, we should be done or in the studio doing the follow up, which is kind of rare for us because sometimes it's taken us some time and some hurdles and change of members, which
we can't count our chickens before they hatch because it always catches us by surprise. Something.
Right, life.
It's not our plan. It's just the way it goes. Yeah.
I understand totally. Yeah. So this new album that you guys have, it's how would you describe it? Is this like same? We're gonna hear Destructor and be like, there it is, there they are, man. You're
not gonna mistake who you're listening to.
It's beautiful.
It'll probably be our best production yet. Noah Buchanan recorded it. Sean Vanek actually recorded some of it, but Noah produced it and mixed it and mastered it.
It's fantastic.
And we were just blown away by number one. And we've recorded with some talented people in the past, but Noah is the shit.
I guess I can say this. Yeah, we got him booked. He's going to be on this. He's going to be on this show, and it'll be a couple months probably before he actually comes on here. But I mean, we got him booked for season 3.
He's a pretty humble guy, but his ears are like,
yeah. We listen, man.
Dialed in. It's amazing in his skill set.
Anybody that's worked with this guy comes in here and they're like Mercenary Stereos. They're like, Noah Buchanan. He's like Ed Stevens, Olathe, all of them.
He's starting to run out of money. He can't keep paying everybody to say all this shit about him.
Yeah, so we finally were like, we better book this guy. We better get this guy in here and talk to this guy because everybody's
and obviously he's a great guitar player and writes now for Nunslaughter, and he's been with the band for a number of years.
Oh, he is a part of Nunslaughter.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's a guitar player.
No kidding.
Been with them since Kanye's in the band.
No shit.
Yeah.
No shit. Yeah, that's interesting as hell, man. He must just be unbelievable because everybody is so. Now, how much do you credit what comes out of that to somebody like Noah? I mean, obviously he's not writing the songs for you or anything like that, but he's a producer. He offers things and he's helping you along a little bit.
He deserves more credit than he's probably willing to accept. For instance, there was some times when we were approaching some guitar solos and he has a keen sense. He's like Bob Ezrin,
Yeah.
He's like, how about try this? How about try that? And then, and then circle back around to that riff and stuff. And we hadn't thought of that. We were kind of close, and we did it and we're like, that's fucking awesome. That's brilliant.
So he's helping with arranging types of things sometimes. In
little parts and stuff. He will interject suggestions that will benefit the song to the better that weren't already there when we were standing there with guitar in hand.
I want to give him a lot of credit for capturing the energy of what we are. Anyway, that's kind of tough to project when you're recording. To get on the recording.
You could set up microphones and stuff, but to capture it is not that easy.
He's done that. He's got the essence of our energy as Destructor in there. That's cool. I like that.
Sweet. Okay, so I want to go back now a little bit. We're kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but you mentioned the new album, so I had to go and check out.
Right.
I want to see what's going on with that. But you guys, so after Maximum Destruction, you guys put out a couple EPs, Sonic Bullet, Storm of Steel, and that was the 90s. That was kind of in the 90s, late 90s when those EPs came out, if I'm not mistaken, or were those in the 2000s?
2000s.
So you'd already so the 90s was mostly not Destructor. That was kind of like that. So you guys decided to bring Destructor back when and why?
In 1999, Frank Stover, as I mentioned before, from Snake Pit magazine in Germany,
You did tell me that.
wanted to know what was going on. And we were like, well, really? There's people that are still interested in what we're doing?
Yeah.
So I did this interview with them. And then all of a sudden, the fan reaction in Europe of everybody that read this magazine, we realized we still have a fan base. How fucking crazy is this? We thought it was done and over, you know? We're in America and we're stuck in Cleveland. We have no idea what's going on in Europe.
Right, right.
So we decided, Pat and I decided, let's get a hold of Matt. We contacted Matt. We decided.
Didn't we run into each other at a gas station or something like that?
We might have.
Something like that. Yeah, it was in the neighborhood, and we started talking about it. That was quick memory. I'm glad I remembered that. That was fun.
What do they call it? Serendipity or synchronicity?
Synchronicity.
Yeah. That's what Sting called it.
I don't know. I don't know what the fuck you guys are even talking about right now.
Neither do we. These gummies are kicking in.
I call it balls deep.
So balls deep. So
we're talking about you guys.
We got together with Matt. We didn't have a bass player at the time. So we ended up finding this bass player and stuff, and we the first place we reunited and stuff was Matt had this property out in Sharg, out in country. We started playing in this barn in his backyard. Big ass garage barn, whatever you want to call it. And that's when we started to kick the rust off and we decided
it was fucking cold out there.
It was fucking cold.
Those
were short practices.
It was a detached building, and there was no heat in.
Well, how'd the practices go right away? Where you guys did was one of them things where you guys were just like, well, we're right back to where almost.
I mean,
pretty much.
But it was.
And was it fun? Was it like?
Oh, yeah.
Was that like a blast?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
I was into it. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got Eric in the band, and we did a couple of shows. We played
Eric Exterminator.
Yeah.
Eric Exterminator.
I love the names.
We played with October 31, Kingsley's band in Maryland. He brought us there.
Yeah. What was that? That Phantasmagoria?
Phantasmagoria. It was
Phantasmagoria. Yeah, it was a club down in Maryland.
It was a record store / comic book store or something like that.
When you guys are playing out at these, when you're out of state and you're playing in other places, how were those set up? I mean, like, were you weren't on your own tour when that was happening?
It was a one-off.
So these are bands that are asking you to come open up for them
Or
somewhere, or you guys
to play
are
with them.
headlining at some of these also, right?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
So and Kingsley gave us a shot, and still to this day, he's one of the greatest guys.
He's a nice guy.
King Fowley. And so that was. Destructor was off and running again, and Eric decided he didn't want to do it anymore. He was going to nursing school or some shit.
No, he was already a nurse.
He was already a nurse?
Yeah.
And we'd gotten in touch with Jamie Walters from the band Boulder. And Jamie wanted to be a part of Destructor. He was always, he sent me this picture of him at like 15 years old standing outside an RV and in some campground and stuff. He had his
Destructor shirt and
Destructor
stuff.
shirt on and stuff.
Sweet.
He's camping with his parents.
Yeah. So
long time ago.
So Jamie joins the band, and the first song that he contributes is Sonic Bullet. And we're like, I heard it immediately. I'm like, it sounds like a Destructor song. He brings all of the music to the table. I pen the lyrics, and we rehearse it, and we get in and we record that, and we recorded a couple other songs, and that's how the Sonic Bullet EP came out.
And that was like then you guys have the fever again and everything's
Totally.
back at this point now.
Yes.
It's like, we're going back, boys. Let's kill it.
And Jamie was really inspiring because obviously we know from Boulder they have a lot of great songs, and he's the single mastermind behind all of Midnight.
Oh.
He writes and he
brainchild.
records. He plays the drums, the bass, the guitars, everything in the studio. He has a live band for the live shows. But that's how Midnight works. And I remember him and Rabbit, because Rabbit loved Venom, and Rabbit used to pen these like Venom-esque lyrics, you know, the ripples of the demon on the edge of the mountain and there's blood flowing from his mouth. And Jamie would be like, yeah. And they, you know, this Cronus type shit.
Yeah.
And Jamie started writing this stuff, and he's like, I'm going to put together this little side project. And Midnight's first show was Jamie playing guitar against a CD recording of his songs with a burning upside down cross on stage. It was just him, and that was his very first couple of shows. Wow! And from there, it just took off. But even in that time, Jamie was with us for.
Don't give away his secret.
For no, his secret is he's fucking talented.
Yeah,
he was in the band for 10, 12 years, and Jamie plays the bass and helped write much of the record Decibel Casualties that has been out.
So, yeah, and you guys, like, this is the point in your career, ironically, that you've been the most productive. I mean, you guys are, like, now,
Yes.
you know, like, in the beginning, that was some of the best stuff, just cause, I mean, the timing, the whole time and everything.
We got robbed when Dave was murdered. There's no question. We lost momentum. We were getting ready to sign a record deal with Island Records. It was the same record label that had Anthrax on. There was a lot of promise going on, and all of the rug just got pulled out from underneath us. And then the 90s came. So it was it was a perfect storm.
Did that help stop the band when
working
he
against us?
when he-
Absolutely.
that helped. That was part of, like,
We were devastated. We weren't Metallica. When Cliff died, they have a whole organization of people pushing them on.
and you guys are pretty young at that point still, too, right?
Very young. Dave was 23
Nah.
years old when he
Yeah,
was
and so learning how to cope with shit like this too. It's a whole. You're like you're young guys. You know,
Yeah,
like
I was
so
23.
There's a lot going on. A lot of emotions. A lot of crazy shit. Wow.
It did create some PTSD, that's for sure.
No shit. Yeah, I bet, man. I bet wild stuff. I remember when it happened too. So it's crazy. But yeah, you guys were very productive in the 2000s. Up until now, like, you guys have really been pumping it out. You're still very relative as far as what's going on in the Cleveland scene metal wise. I mean, you can't say that about, you know, a lot of the bands that were coming up with you. You know, I know
Some of them
I know
don't
Black
even
Death
wanna
is still
do it
doing
anymore.
Sicky's still out there though. I know
He's trying hard. He's
Yeah.
trying really fucking hard.
Yeah, man, I still think that's so cool that they're doing it, man. I love it. And you guys are still relevant, and you guys have, you know, like, Purgatory didn't make it, but Purgatory became all these other things also.
They did.
And that's pretty impressive in its own
Absolutely.
self. And Chuck Pierce still, you know, Ed Stevens was playing with them for a while also and
They
stuff.
got some new stuff coming
Yeah,
out.
they're doing it, you know, but it's so cool. You guys, I actually saw you guys at the Sweetest Day Metal Massacre.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
I saw that show. Yeah, I saw that. That was the only time I saw you guys.
That's when Matt fell off the drum riser that was like 6 feet tall and stuff. He stepped back off the drums and fucking landed on the big
It was
curtain.
more like 10 feet, man.
But that was such a cool show. Oh, that was a classic show. Do you guys ever foresee anything like that happening again? Maybe where some of those bands kind of get together again and do a show like that? Has anyone ever talked about it, or is there no way that can happen again?
I don't know. I mean,
That would take a lot of work, I think.
It's obviously out of our control.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Things are different
For
now.
instance, Ali from Germany, he has the Keep It True festival. Breaker have been huge in Germany.
Yeah.
You know, they love Breaker so much, and Breaker's a great band and stuff, but Breaker doesn't want to be Breaker anymore.
Yeah, right.
As much as other people want to see Breaker back, you know, that show that they did when they got Ian back and Jim back and stuff.
Beach and ballroom, too.
That was the last show in that band's mind. And they could tell me otherwise, and they could tell you otherwise now. And if they do, that's great. But the thing is, all these people have these pipe dreams of another Breaker, another Destructor, another Breaker reunion, and get
Maybe
them back.
in
and stuff.
Bizarro World.
But they're
They've moved on. They've all
they
moved
have
on.
moved on
Yeah.
totally.
Which
And
is-
we're not that smart.
Well, no. It's just different.
No.
I mean, it's different thinking, different mindsets, different whatever. I mean, you guys doing what you do.
We want to continue to be Destructor in the best way possible and not have people go, well, those guys are still hanging on to dear life. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
We want to fucking kill it.
Well, I
and we
kinda
want to
am.
put out this next record should prove to everybody, Blood, Bone, and Fire should prove to everybody, like, oh my God, they still have it. And then with Mark, another member change and stuff, he's bringing writing to the table, and he's very talented.
The
He's
new
one
blood
of
brings new ideas, man.
yeah, and
It
he's
just
one of those
inspires
writers.
everybody.
He's one of those writers too. He's like, I know what's going to work for this band, and I know what's not going to work for this band, and he's going to bring the stuff that's going to work for this band, and we're going to start working on some stuff. So,
I like when
Again-
he always says, it goes, it's fun playing this stuff.
yeah,
Is he a younger dude,
no,
or
he's
same-
like my age.
Okay,
He's
okay.
like late 50s or whatever. Like
he's
maybe
an old fart like you, huh?
yeah, he might be 5 years younger than me, but it's great to hear that from somebody else. Like, I'm really enjoying doing this because I didn't think it's, for the longest time, we were trying to get people to be participating in Destructor. And one of the problems, even though we said a lot of bands have members that have all worked together and stuff, but one of the things is it's hard to find somebody to want to be a part of Destructor if they already have their own thing going. What's their vested interest, right?
Correct. Correct. It's hard.
Usually the other thing.
It seldom happens, but every once in a while the project takes over the main band. But it doesn't. It's usually not that way. It usually doesn't go down that way. So,
well, plus, I mean, he's a fan of this kind of material too. I mean, he really likes playing this kind of music, So that's definitely a bonus. It's not like he's, just another player that has his own ideas kind of thing and then is changing to be in Destructor kind of thing.
Is that what you guys are looking for when you guys add members here and stuff like that, though, that they have some writing type of skills and talents about them?
Yes.
They can help out with all that stuff?
Yeah, because the plan is to always, anytime we've gotten somebody new, we want them to be in the band.
Yeah, right.
We're not looking for somebody just to kind of like fill a spot.
Right. You guys, your egos weren't such that it was like, we write everything, just do what we tell you.
The last thing that we want is for them to go, yeah, I really like playing with you guys. We want them to go, I really love being a member of Destructor.
Right. I see.
If you don't have a vested interest in the band, well,
good. Why'd you want to be here in the first?
What are you doing? Right.
And do you write all the lyrics?
Predominantly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
That's helped write some lyrics and contributed to some titles and concepts and stuff. Yeah. Probably 90% of all the lyrics, with the exception of the old days, Pat Rabbit helped write some lyrics.
Okay.
And
I leave it up to Dave because he's the one singing them. So who's the better person to write the lyrics? If
But I mean, is it easy for you to write lyrics? Or is this something that comes pretty natural for you, or is it something that you had to like kind of work at? Or
so that's a good question. It's a little bit of 50-50 because I have books and books of shit that I've written, lyric ideas. Anytime an idea comes, grab the recorder, record the riff, or write the lyric.
Just thinking about some of the stuff I've written. It's like pretty weird shit.
Yeah.
Just now that came to you, you're like, God, I just realized my shit's weird.
But sometimes it's not like automatically I have like a lyric first or I have the music first. Sometimes it's a little bit of a process. Like I start going through lyrics and stuff, and I have this riff in my head. I'm like, oh, bingo! That thing that I wrote like 3 years ago and stuff would fit perfect with this.
Oh, you do that then?
Yeah,
that's sweet. That's sweet.
So
you save everything that you could like. So ideas, you tend to save them, and then
there's never one formula or one set of circumstances that contributes to how the song comes together.
So this new album that's going to be coming out, about 9 months. You feel like it'll be out?
Yeah.
And then you guys are going to do what after that? Will you guys be playing out on a tour? Are you guys planning on something like that, or are you?
I'm working with a couple of different people. I've talked to people in Europe. I know we have Madrid, Spain.
None of that.
We're in March. We're going to Madrid. We're playing in Spain. We're going to headline.
Well, I wanted to talk about that for a second. Yeah, that's the Pounding Metal Fest in Madrid, Spain.
Yes,
you guys are playing with a couple. Like, there's like 5 bands. Is that what it is?
Something like that. One of the bands is named Iron Curtain.
Yeah, there's 2 Iron bands in there.
Who came up with their title from our song Iron Curtain?
No.
They're big Destructor fans.
Yeah, they're big Destructor fans, man.
And so you guys are playing Madrid, Spain. How did you guys get put on that bill?
They contacted us and said, "What would it take to get Destructor to come and play?" And I told them. They said, "Okay, let's do it."
No kidding. Yeah. Now, how often have you guys played overseas?
Not enough.
Yeah, not
just
enough.
Just a few times?
We were just in Mexico this year. That was a great show, Mexico City. So that's not necessarily overseas.
I guess it's just outside the States.
It's outside the United States.
But what about Germany? Have you guys gone to Germany?
Plenty of times, yeah.
No kidding.
Not enough times. Plenty is it.
Is it as great as everyone else says it is? Is Germany one of your favorite places and stuff like that?
Europe in general is just.
Well, you guys are like stars there.
Well,
right? I mean, like, it's a little different.
I'll tell you what, though, Mexico City fans were pretty fucking feverish, man.
They were.
They were very invigorated by
went wild.
our show.
Shit. What's that like, guys? What's that? Seriously.
I think I was just as impressed with their reaction to us as they were to us.
No shit.
It was like, wow. Man.
And somebody had written, Destructor's fraternal attitude towards the fans is amazing and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, you had some write-ups that were really positive.
And like we destroyed everything in our path and, so that was nice. And it was about 900 people.
Really?
And they went entirely crazy. So you go to a place like, it's funny because, we're still a Cleveland band. We could play at the Sly Fox. We pulled in 40 people,
Yeah,
I was just trying to explain that to somebody. I said, we're not a local band.
Mexico
Well,
City.
it's
Even
like-
though they want to keep us as a local band.
It's very
but
true. I
we're
mean,
an
it's what people.
We're an international
It's
recording
what
act.
people don't understand. When we had Purgatory in here and Kenny was in Mystic, and when Mystic was Ed Miller was in Mystic
Right.
also.
Yes.
These guys were somewhat big here in the local area. People knew who Mystic was, but overseas,
Somehow it
they were
took off.
stars.
Yeah.
You guys, same thing with you guys, and they say a lot. I know you see it a lot. A lot of the Cleveland bands it was if you were from Cleveland, people took notice.
Yes. So there's a certain reputation. He's just getting the fleas off. It's okay.
Just a little.
bugs.
There's a certain reputation, I guess, that being a Cleveland band, and if there is, that's great. I don't know what it is, but all I know is that we're Destructor, and we're trying to continue on the best that we can and deliver Destructor to the fans.
Hell yeah.
And when the fans react like they did in Mexico City, we know we've done our job.
Hell yeah.
Do we
You
use
guys are still doing it,
priority
man.
mail or FedEx
I like
to deliver the Destructor to the
I use an Uber. It takes a lot longer, but I can stop at McDonald's on the way.
Yeah.
You guys, I'll tell you, man, you guys definitely are still like doing what you've always done. So obviously, after this album, you guys are playing out. If people see Destructors playing, definitely go check this out because you guys are still very relative.
Please.
But you guys
Please
are still,
do.
but you
Please
really
do,
are.
yeah.
You really are still killing it, right?
Trying.
I mean, he just got through telling me these are the best drums you think you ever
well,
done.
yeah, but
well, if you want to hear that,
it
then gotta
up to
check
the-
it out.
It is up to the fans to decide that.
Are you
kind
gonna?
of
I will
stuff.
put a
mean,
poll up. We'll
that's
ask
true.
them. We'll poll them. Is this the best drums Matt Flammable's ever done?
Yeah.
Well, guys, okay, that's it. We're gonna wrap it up right now from right there because
For
we're
Christmas?
pretty much. It's like a present.
All right,
but
man.
I'm gonna try to get you. We'll get you guys back on, and maybe like after you guys do put out the album.
Can I get a bow on it?
A bowl.
A bowl.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh,
know?
Morgan's. Yes. This is what I like.
So I got one last gift. There's a couple more things in here, but rolling papers.
I'll
don't
give you
count.
mine after the show.
Oh, that's what I think it is, dude.
Yeah, it is.
This is a Destructor flag for your show, and we want to thank you for inviting us.
So cool, dude.
I got one of those on my wall too.
Dude, you guys got flags.
Banners.
I got a bedspread like this.
No, he doesn't. It's the
I
Little
do.
Mermaid.
Oh, it's the wrong way.
You got a bed. You got a bedspread like this. A big
Pillowcases.
comforter?
Pillowcases.
Holy shit!
Whole
Can you
whole
see
bed
that,
set.
man? Yeah. Can we see it?
Matching sheets to
Come
go.
down a little.
We good, right?
Yep, right there.
Wow, that's sweet. That is sweet, dude. That is so cool. I never. Who?
Yeah.
It's the first one of these we got.
So, Level Up Cleveland. It's the
Man.
real deal. Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us. It was our pleasure. Brian, you've been a great host, and
Thank you, man. Appreciate you guys, man. This has been sweet, man.
the whole.
We got to do a part 2 because we haven't
Yeah.
even really gotten into the meat of things here yet. So.
I know.
We'll have
and
to have you guys
and the
back.
prostitutes waiting for us downstairs that you line up for us.
Yeah, it
the
costs
lineup
money.
is sweet.
Isn't it unbelievable? They come to us. They're like, we want
Class.
Destructor.
Yeah, it's amazing you can get that down in the steel yards.
The lot lizards down here are everywhere. All right, guys. Thanks again for coming, man. We'll
All
see you
right.
guys-
Thank you for having us.
We'll see you guys next week.
Destructor, metal forever.
Destructor!
Ah, Cleveland.
Destructor!
Destructor.
That'll be fine.